Turns out, ladies and gentlemen, trying to use a controller when you haven't done so for 7 years is a pain in the ass. Would you believe it? It's not how I intended on starting, but then I got addicted, excuse me, to trying out the new F2 cars. That's an invalidation. Screw off. Yeah, so alas, we are trying for some reason for the next couple of minutes, and then I'll stop sweating it because I'm not even racing tonight. And then we'll get on to the actual meat of the horse. That's so strange. Ah! I like F1 23 more. Just my personal opinion, but I just like F1 23 more. I'm already losing time on the straight, screw it. Oh well. I haven't set a valid lap time yet, mostly because controller, my fingers are floppy. I haven't been able to hook up an actually decent overall standing, but, you know, we live and learn. I think that's the main thing we've got to take from all of this. That was close. Off the slide. Crying out loud. Pain in the ass this game to drive. It's the fastest I've taken that corner, and yet I still lost time. Banterous irony with every turn of the control stick. It's fantastic. F1 24 is a game with no flaws whatsoever. And that would not have invalidated you on F1 23, so I'd love to know what that's about. Great. Excellent. So if you're a hair follicle off the track and out of the white lines, on F1 24, you go straight to hell. But on F1 23, they actually had a track limit system, so it wasn't a problem. This is what roughly an F2 lap looks like with no assist on a controller when you haven't done it in 7 years. You know, each to their own. Just confidence. It's mostly what it boils down to. I have zero confidence at all. That's alright. If that invalidated me there, I would have flipped the lid. And several of them. Don't go off. Yeah, that went off. Sick! Very good. My favourite. I'm not enjoying life on a controller. I enjoyed being on a wheel. I would go back to it, but this game feels like arse to play on a wheel, so I'm not going to. See if I can actually get a valid lap time in before I get on the way with this. That would be nice. You give me one thing on this Monday evening. Apart from some great racing, obviously, it'd be that. Gone wide. Nice. Excellent. Absolutely fantastic. Although more confidence on the exit. To plant the power down. Speed through there. Hold the apex. Gain some time by holding the apex. Exit was a little bit ropey. Break it around the 50. Just let the car roll through. That would have lost me a bit of time. Not as much as I thought it would, surprisingly. Don't go off the track there. Jesus Christ, that was close. Good exit though. Very nice. Towards the final corners. Big slide. Kiki. That'll do it. Could have been a 26, but I bottled it. Instead, it'll be a 27-0. And now I'm 400th in the world. So who's really counting? But enough of that tomfoolery. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. It's a Monday evening. And welcome to the Blackout Racing League, week number 4. And it's going to be a score to settle this week, let me tell you. Although before that, let me just quickly flex. I am faster than buck 20, and I did about 5 laps. But I'm way less consistent, so let's not delve into that anymore. Welcome, everybody. It's been a minute. In fact, I say a minute, it's been a week. And you know what that means? We need to remind ourselves of where we are heading to this week. So, here's where we're heading to. 14th of October today, we are heading to the Temple of Speed, but not that temple. We are heading to God's racetrack, which is Italy, for the San Marino Grand Prix, or the Grand Prix with the biggest name in human history. I don't care to say it all at the moment, but you'll enjoy that all later. The point is, we're there in the Formula 2 cars, and then we are heading off to COTA, because that is where F1 is heading this weekend. Who says what we do isn't relevant work? Absolutely no one. That's right, because it is all relevant work. There you go. I'm in the top 450 in the world. Granted, only 2,000 people have done lap times in the Formula 2 cars round Imola. But either way, considering I haven't done much controller playing or F1 24 game playing at all, I think it will suffice for the time being. Back to the standby screen then. And what I can tell you, actually, although you know what I am going to do, is I'm probably just going to save it onto machine, and then I am going to tell you in excruciating and stretched detail what the driver's standings are looking like in season 17. So let me just just put it up right now. Just go to downloads. We're gonna go like that. Oh yeah, that's not gonna look great. What we are gonna do is go like that. My computer's gonna have a lag spike, my favorite pastime. And then we are going to go like that and like that. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not prepared for how wide the driver's standings are going to be this week, because let me tell you now, they are wide. They are horizontally challenged driver standings. Milo is in front, in case you couldn't tell from the hieroglyphics that are on your screen. He's on 135 points, which is rather unbelievable. We then have Thanassi in P2, hot on his heels, but not too hot for the moment, so Milo can rest easy. So he's 20 points behind on 115 points. Then 16 points behind, and probably will be the next person to breach the 100-point barricade. It's Mr. J-Lane, race winner at the Bahrain Grand Prix, and with many, many more things up his arsenal, which I'd say is pretty disgusting and illegal to do on a racetrack. But I'm not the stewards, so there you go. In 4th is Pure Tyrrek. He's at the ground running for the French Connection team. Tim Alele's in 5th. Big Swimmer is in 6th place in the standings. That's pretty unbelievable. Except he's not here this week, so his P6 could be in jeopardy to the likes of the mighty Stark in P7. Stark there with 76 points. Behind him with 65 points is Dirkleton. Terziak in 9th. Buck 20 in 10th. Jamie Tarkin 11th. Magico 12th, etc, etc, etc. If you can read in, well, 36:9 resolution, then this is the display for you. Back to the standby screen then. We start off, of course, in the Formula 2 cars. And we have one-shot qualifying, as we did at the Austrian Grand Prix. And, as memory does serve me very correctly, Thanassi is very, very quick in these cars. So you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that can challenge him. Oh no. Thanassi's not here. Well, that is a spanner in the works. Who will take his mantle then as the marvel and majesty of the F2 circus? That will all be revealed soon. Not only that as well, will there be any fairy tales that are made up in the fire and brimstone of the sweaty San Marino spectacle. Again, something to be revealed further down the line. We have a J-Lane, we have Buck 57, we have Thanasi's teammate, but not the man himself. We have Vulcan in the Campos, we have the two Invicta Virtuosi cars, should I say, of Milo and Buckle 20. And he certainly will have to be buckled in if he wants a good result today. Derek Dirkleton in the MP Motorsport car. Slam in the VAR car, which means he's going to be drawing and doing a lot of lines. Timalele and Magico in the Premers. Terziak in the AIX car. Stark in the high-tech machine. And Pure Tyrrek is going to shove his trident where the sun don't shine, inside his opponents. Those are your lot for today. 12 of the finest. Unless they actually dare to ask me to race, which I have to say is a stupid idea because I can't drive the F2 cars. I'm very happy in my little box, personally. But there you go. So, let me tell you what's been going on recently. I did a football thing. Wow, that's cool, isn't it? And they actually won. They won a game this season. People on the internet weren't very happy because I said the floodgates have opened at the Beavery Stadium. All I have to say to that is that's a figure of speech. Literally a play on words because they're the Beavers. If you had any sort of football knowledge before commenting that, I would respect you. And maybe they just thought I was too over the top. Not everyone has to like me. It's fine. But I'm in my happy place here. My true happy place. The single-seater spectacle. The Formula 2 Fury is soon to begin with one-shot qualifying. One chance. The strictest track limits on the planet here at Imola. But not much wiggle room to get things right. Or wrong, for that matter. Do not play chicken with the track limits or they will chicken you. That is the motto of the day. DHL sponsorship resonating with its red and yellow. But who will be the one to deliver the great results today? We're about to find out. It's qualifying time here in San Marino. And as we head towards the line, it is Mr. Stark in the high-tech who will assume the front of the field. Albeit briefly, it's all change up on the front. Who even knows what's going on? As we head towards the ferocious Tamburello chicane. Break just after the curb starts. Tyrrek's gone a bit wide, and it means Terziak has been allowed into provisional pole for the moment, although that is only after 3 corners. So I won't speak too soon, but into the Villeneuve chicane, flicking the car in, hoping the nose will stick. He can take more curb than you think, as he then dart past the 50 board, stick the car in, glue it to the inside apex, plant on the power as soon as he can. Pirelli's bite into the bitumen, and then it's up the hill, over the blind crest, towards the Piratella. Easily the most dastardly place for track limits. It can all go wrong in a heartbeat, but for Terziak and those behind at least, it is all going smoothly. For Milo, it hasn't, but up at the front, it's looking like a battle of the T's once again. Terziak, Timalele, Tyrrek, it's just academic really, isn't it? Don't play chicken with the chicken, because Fernando Alonso's not a happy boy. J-Lane's up, Magico's in P2, what's going on? It's all kicking off as we head in towards the final 2 corners. And surely for Terziak, providing he doesn't cross over the white lines, which he stays well within those ranks, it's going to be a comfortable breeze to pole position. And a breeze it certainly was. A second ahead of the rest. J-Lane in P2, and my darling husband has got P3 on the grid in Imola. Timalele's P4. Can I just say, if I did my time trial time in this grid, I would have been P2. That's pretty cool. Not that that matters at the end of the day. 4 drivers disqualified for track limits. Oh no. But it is Terziak, your pole position dweller. J-Lane, the second place specimen. Magico, the third place threat. Timalele in 4th, Buck 20 in 5th. Vulcan 6th, Dirkleton 7th, Stark in 8th, Tyrrek in 9th with Slam, Buck 57 and Mr. Milo, the McLaren man in the Invicta Virtuosi car, I assume, taking the reins of Gabriel Bortoletto's machine in P2. 12. But it's time for a quick nap, everyone. Good night. Morning, morning. Wake up, wake up. It's race day. It's Imola in F2. Fantastic. A bit of cloud cover overhead, maybe some weather to play a part in what could prove to be a wet and wild spectacle at Imola once again. I should know that wet and wild spectacles don't always go well in Imola. I was there once. We don't talk about that. It's the one race I actually refuse to talk about. So let's move on. Terziak on pole then. Has really asserted his dominance over the rest of the field. It's remarkable stuff. From the Flying Scotsman. But with Rolex sponsorships in the background, will time be truly on his side? Or have others bided it for the times where it matters the most? That will be all revealed. It's 5 red lights in Imola. Lights out and away we go. And a very awkward first place starting position. J-Lane unable to capitalise as Magico's gone plummeting down the order at the start. What on earth's happened there? Either misjudged the lights or... well, there's no speculation that's any consolation, but through the first 3 corners, the Tamburello chicane, Milo is already up to 8th. He's made me break the sound barrier because that's from... oh, no. Oh, no. What on earth's happened there? Anyway, back at the front, J-Lane's getting very close. He's just gone down the inside of Terziak, slipped through, he saw the gap open up, threaded the needle, and surely the livery, the Red Bull adorned car of Campos, will send Terziak out wide, but right around the outside goes the brown machine that Terziak's in, and back into P1 he goes. Lovely little battling there in Joshua Dirkson's car, so obviously that engine's illegal. Terziak, you're disqualified. Elsewhere though, look at all the positions that have changed hands. Buck 57 in 7th place. Tyrrell's already up to 5th. Timalele's made good progress into 3rd, but Terziak leads them towards the final 2 corners. J-Lane not too far behind, and he has to get a move on those softer tyres. He's not got much time where they'll have the better purchase, and Tyrrell's had a problem. He's gone off the road at the penultimate corner. No idea if there was contact or anything of the sort. He's got grass and grit all over his tyres. Meanwhile, Milo, it must have been him and Tim, or something's happened to Tim as well. He's down to P7. Milo has bolted his way through in Bortoletto's machine into P1. Terziak's gone off at Tamburello. J-Lane accepts that invitation rather heartily. Into P1 ascends the Campos driver, and his teammate could try and get to work. Great stuff from the 2 Campos cars, and they look not to be done as Vulcan is raring and ready all over the back of Terziak, but going wide at Piratella certainly won't endear him to gaining positions. Buck 20 also looking to do the same. As we look at the tyre situation, a pretty even split on the whole, actually, between those super soft tyres and the medium tyres. 2 compound steps higher up, or 2 compound steps difference between the soft and the hard, super soft and the medium tyres, as Vulcan already has a 3-second time penalty. Oh no. Anyways, back to the action of the day. Stark is getting close. Mediums versus mediums. Stark and Buck 20 can get to work, providing a sensational spectacle in San Marino. Tiny bits of twitching. The front end so pointy in this game. The handling always right on the nose of the car. Feels like you're actually sitting on the nose cone and driving it. It's rather weird, but Buck 57's getting mercifully, in his case, very close to Dirkleton. Dirkleton will be hoping he can get the hell out of there, but Buck 57's trying to feint a move into the Villeneuve chicane. Behind them, look at the helicopter shot. Timalele is right on the back of Milo as well. And soon there could be a train developing here. The 4 of them just pinching away, snipping at each other's heels. But Tim's got a great exit out of the Tosa hairpin. to the inside. He thought about making the move. He stuck his nose in, perhaps trying to pressure the Invicta Virtuosi car into a mistake. But at the moment, nothing doing, just has to bide his time that little bit more. Patience can prove to be a virtue, and Terziak's patience is being rewarded. J-Lane had a 1.5 second gap out in front. Those arrears have quickly been reduced to only 0.8 of a second. As, oh no, Milo's round. Milo's gone round at the chicane. I can't remember what it's called, but it's devastation for Milo nonetheless. Possibly contact between him and Timolele again, who continues to be in the wars. He's just been overtaken by Slam, who was slammed into something with front wing damage, but is still running a decent race, up in P6 at the moment. And Magico is up a position. What a legend. Buck 57, meanwhile, with a dose of DRS deployed, easily breezes through on the MP Motorsport car behind, and into P4 he goes. Terziak begins to mount the pressure on the shoulders of J-Lane as we carry on through this contest. Tim's trying to go for the move into the Villeneuve chicane on Slam, but holds it round the outside. Does the VAR car. He understands where the line is, because he draws them all as Tim tries to show the nose to the inside of Tosa. Maybe think about a switchback into that hairpin. Stark's got ahead of Buck 20 in all of this, but side by side towards Piratella, on board with Buck 20. Stark breaks so late and carries superb momentum to maintain P9 in this contest. It's almightily close racing here in Formula 2, and Tyrrell is the man on the move, ready to pounce into the chicane, shows the nose, but no avenue opens up for the Trident car. Trying to stick the scepter firmly into the heart of the Prema car ahead. On Prema's home turf, no less, but nothing doing at the moment for Tyrrell. The man who could well be a championship contender, currently a championship chaser. But it's very, very early days in this contest. Terziak with DRS then. There's the profound effects of the slipstream and the rear wing. The double dosage and deployment means delightful rewards for Terziak, still side by side. J-Lane holds it, and Terziak manages in the end to sweep round the outside of the Campos car. Exquisite racing between the two of them. Buck 57, meanwhile, is up to P3. Mediums coming into their world of their own. The Super Softs clearly having a very short shelf life in San Marino, and it's only going to make the sinking feeling that more, I was going to say sublime, but that's really a juxtaposition if you've ever heard one. Slam, though, is descending down the order. The front wing damage, just too much to contend with. Buck 20 down the inside, and still emerging out of Piratella. Slam's giving it a damn good go. Into mineral water, round the outside. Tries to go Buck 20. Try a little cheeky switchback, but he gives the diffuser a little biff on the way out, and that won't help his momentum in the slightest. But DRS is soon to come. Oh no! Tyrrell's gone off again. It's at the chicane. It has not been a friendly track, the San Marino spectacle, for the Trident driver. Possibly side-by-side action, possibly spun out, I have no idea. Another yellow flag as Buck 57's gone off at the last corner. I know the pain, it's horrible, really. Magico's up to P10. What a legend. You can't stop him, and he's holding on to the DRS of Milo up ahead. What an absolute superstar. Buck 20's got past Slam in all of this. The battle's still up at the front, though. J-Lane holding on nicely to the back of Terziak at the moment. The Campos man driving a damn good Spectre, albeit he does have a 3-second time penalty. And that will not help proceedings in his circumstance. However, it is still early days. A third of the way through this race in Blackout in Formula 2. Week number 4. It's Terziak currently leading. J-Lane trying to remain within DRS, but just breaking out of it as they head into Aqua Minerale. And breaking out some more is the AIX driver, using the Saturn V rocket in the back of that car. And Terziak is well on his way. Tyrrell, well, he's got a 3-second time penalty. And, well, the plummet continues on plummeting. which is rather sad. Still, we watch all of the action as Stark's going for the move on Dirkleton. Got a great exit out of the chicane compared to the MP Motorsport car. And the high-tech man, who was P10 not very long ago. I'd say like 3 or 4 laps ago now. He's already ascended up the ranks to P5. As Vulcan is into the pit lane already. Lap number 6 is over. And in comes our first competitor. The Campos driver, what tyres are going to be strapped onto his wagon? There's only one. The medium compound tyres. Out of the pits goes Mr. Vulcan. And also behind him, actually, that looks like Mr. Slam's coming in as well. And to be fair, that front wing damage was just a bit too much of a burden to bear, so I don't blame him. Dirkleton remaining in touching distance of Stark ahead at this stage. Kind of remaining in DRS, but he is on those super softs, and they are basically fourth hand now. They've got a severe bacterial infection there past so many hands, and as a result, Stark outside of Piratella not only is outside of DRS, Dirkleton's gone for a spot of lawn mowing, and to put the cherry on top of this poo-flavoured cake, Dirkleton also has a 3-second time penalty. Buck 20 behind can now get to work. Magico's still holding on nicely, and you know what, all things considered, start of this race might not have gone well for the Prema driver, but as it stands, holding into range, DRS range, of Mr. Miller up ahead, and giving it a damn good run in the Prema car, so fair play to him. Terziak's already crossed the line for lap number 8 as Milo goes wide at the second to last corner. I'm not sure if Magico managed to get DRS. He was definitely, well, within touching distance of the detection zone, and he was well within the detection zone. And now with a good dose of DRS, a sumptuous sucking of the slipstream, he will charge all the way to Tamburello. Think about a move, but actually chooses not to hold himself and Milo up at this stage. Playing the long game, I see. Funding his way forward. Sponsor. Driving the Ollie Behrman machine. Someone who actually hasn't had the best of runs in Formula 2. Prema as a whole haven't had the best of runs of things at Formula 2 so far this season. As Buck 57's come into the pits, Vulcan has already got daylight, a lot of daylight between himself and the Dams car. My apologies. Good grief, that was almost a horrific blunder. Dirkleton also pit, by the way, and he is out now on his medium tyres. So 4 cars of pit. We've still got all of those yet to pit. 8 drivers. Will our race leader be one of them? At the end of the fateful 8th lap, approaching the fulcrum point of the San Marino sensation here in Formula 2. Those medium tyres still going very strong, and Terziak, of course, deciding to keep on going. As for Jimothy Lane, he keeps on going as well into the halfway stage. Tim keeps on going, Stark keeps on going. Is anyone actually going to pull the trigger and try something dastardly and bold? The answer is absolutely not. Maybe Tyrrell will, but no. No, they won't, and you know why? The specks of rain have started to drop, and that means pitting was a calamitous curse. And all of those efforts to strap on the new tyres, all of the efforts to go all guns blazing, have actually ended up misfiring. Terziak and co. in positions 1 to 8 have, well, written their own fairy tale. You create your own luck, as they say, and they certainly have. It's just started to spittle here in San Marino through mineral water, which is rather appropriate, although it does need cleansing before you can actually drink it, so don't try and drink the acid rain, folks. J-Lane P2. Timolele, as it stands, would be P2 in this Grand Prix. In this Formula 2 Grand Prix, as it were. Out of the chicane we go. Stark also keeping Timolele relatively honest as well. In his high-tech car, I say that he's just lost 7 tenths through the chicane, but ignore. McLaren teammates are now line astern again. Buck 20 has had Milo catch up, and Mr. Magico has managed to hoist himself onto the back of the pair of them. A great piece of recovery rampage from my darling husband. That is lovely stuff. Done a great job so far. Just got to keep on going. As for J-Lane, the rain is getting a little bit heavier. And you have to be bold and make the call as to when you go onto the wet tyres. I'm not sure putting the mediums on is the inspired strategy. But I'm willing to be proven wrong. Terziak now has a 3-second time penalty, by the way, as well, which is not great if he wants to actually keep the lead of this race without a bit of sweat on his brow. Imola, the German destroyer, as he... a big Tokyo drift through Tosa. You know what? For style points, Imola's won the championship with that one so far. However, that doesn't actually give you any real points in the Blackout Racing League. So back to the drawing board with that. Milo's got past Buck 20 in Gabriel Bortoletto's machine. And Buck 20's wishing he did have a bit of cush to give him any cream of comfort in P5. As my husband Magico begins to waltz up to the back of him. And a big slide out of Aqua Minerale ahead. A front row seat for the Premier car. In terms of that particular slip and slide, as Buck 57's gone off into the gravel. Conditions continuously getting trickier and trickier. And there's no greater example that has been depicted in front of your very eyes than Buck 57 emerging from the sandbox. Lap number 11 of this race. There is still a lot to play for. Magico's up to P5, ladies and gentlemen. And that's because Buck 20 has entered the pit lane. He's decided to get off his medium tyres and strap on the super soft tyres. Excellent. Who else came into the pits? It was Mr. Tyrrell in the Trident car. Into pit row he goes, and he is the one to be bold. He is the first one to pull the trigger and teleported. Tyrrell's an alien. That's what I've concluded. But more so than that, he's decided to be the bold man, make the bold call, and be the first to strap on the wet tyres. No intermediate tyres in Formula 2. It is wet or bust. And that is a disgusting phrase if I've ever said one. Through Tamburello, then, we'll be watching the gap between Tyrrell and the cars ahead with great anticipation and bated breath. Up at the front, Terziak extending the margin, hand over fist. What a drive it's been from the Flying Scotsman. I'll tell you what, he doesn't have that nickname for nothing. Oh, Dirkleton's gone! Dirkleton's gone off the track, obviously, because his tyres are covered in dirt and dust, and more mistakes coming through. That is the double-edged sword you have by staying out on the dry tyres or making the bolder call to stay out on the dry tyres. The track getting colder and colder. DRS is disabled. There is no better time to come into the pit lane and be bold, and Magico and Milo have decided to play that bold call. The cards are not on their chest anymore. They have been unveiled for all to see. And let's see what rabbits they can pull out of the hat. Milo onto the wet. Magico onto the wet. The track getting ever more slippery. And all the while it poses even more of a challenge. Look at the way Terziak's having to fight the car. The rear end rabbiting around. Got a looser rear end than a gazelle in that AIX car. It's unbelievable how he's managing to keep it under control. Just about everyone doing the same. As out of the pits come Milo and Magico. Buck 20 gets ahead of the Premier car. Let's see what Tyrrell can do. He's, of course, got the undercut on the wet tyres, and through he goes. The undercut on the wet tyres, then, has indeed paid off. Fantastic from the Trident driver, but Magico looking to fight back instantaneously with a bit of slipstream, but nowhere near close enough to be a proper threat into the Villeneuve chicane. Still, the leaders stay out. I mean, there's only so much parting of the sea you can do before you actually have to concede that slick tyres are not the way forward, and Terziak does indeed agree. It's time to get into the pits at 175 miles an hour and get some wet tyres on. Tim and Stark would be very wise to do the same. Into the pits comes Tim, into the pits comes Stark. J-Lane then will possibly and quite possibly assume the lead of this race. However, I doubt that's going to come into much fruition because this track is now undrivable. You are better off in the Arctic Sea than you are actually in a Formula 1 car currently. You could actually ride a penguin around this track and it would be faster. J-Lane, does he go for the wet tyres? No, he stays out. J-Lane has chose to stay out. Now, that is a very bold call, and I do respect that. But someone who it isn't paying off for is Buck20. He's just been disposed of by Tyrrell and Magico. Vulcan's come into the pit. He is, well, decided the Campos calamity can be no more. He's into the pit lane for some wet tyres to have any smell of redemption for the rest of this race. J-Lane's back up into second, by the way, by making that bold call, but already through the Villeneuve chicane. Timalele's caught up by over half a second. Make that a J-Lane, you've made the wrong call. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and I might sound like a bit of a genius here, but I think you might have screwed it. As Timalele breezes through, it's not even a contest. Completely academic due to the compound of tyre. Tim through into P2, and brand new wet tyres. Stark, what have you done? Stark, what have you done? Well, it certainly got interesting. Stark's on the super soft. I don't really know why. I assume his high-tech team lived up to the first two letters of their name, for lack of a better term, because that is absolutely heinous crimes have been committed against the Vatican with that particular strategy. And Magico now is about to reconvert Stark into a pit strategy. Out of the chicane, the traction is tremendous on a whole other plane of existence as Magico ascends into P6. What I have no doubt at all will be soon into P5. Tyrrell's up to P4, by the way. He's got incredible pace on the wet compound tyres. J-Lane just up ahead on his mediums. And on board for Tyrrell for a visualisation of just how strong the wet tyres are in the slipstream. And by the time they get to Tamburello, we'll switch over to J-Lane. Look to the right-hand side. Tyrrell is there, and brake all you want. Take all the speed you want. Contact made. Milo's hit J-Lane, and that could well be damage on the Invicta Virtuosi car. Sent into the half spin. He had absolutely no grip with which to brake, did J-Lane. But at the end of the day, it was contact with the side of Tyrrell's car. Sent him into the half spin. Milo actually looks okay on the damage front. Externally, there's no damage. Emotionally, there might well be. Magico, though, is up into P5. And others deciding that they, too, need to make amends. Slams onto the wet tyres. Vulcan means, well, it means for him he's up into P9. And if Stark, Buck20 and J-Lane stay out on their tyres, Vulcan could yet get a good result in this race. I make no bones about that. It is entirely possible. Terziak, well in control. Keeping command of proceedings up at the front, the Flying Scotsman. Had hardly anything to worry about this race whatsoever. Granted, there was the first few laps where he and J-Lane duelled it out to the death to make it sound dramatic. Speaking of J-Lane, he's got another 3-second time penalty. I'm not sure the mediums were the right idea. I don't mean to sound obvious, but I think the wet tyres would be a good call now. Like I said, hardly anything to do, and he's driven delightfully. Hardly put a foot wrong. It's been millimetrically perfect, apart from the 3-second time penalty, where it wasn't millimetrically perfect. But yet he still has the confidence to extend the gap to 9.7 seconds, continue extending it, and hold firm at the front. Timalele, by all means, it's been a decent race for him as well, but Terziak's done really well, with Tim going for the Fernando Alonso steering technique through the Villeneuve chicane, hoping that will grip the Pirellis up to the surface. But at the Pirelli Pizza Pasta Pancetta Grand Prix, that is not the way forward. There's Tyrrell in the background, by the way. He's had a race fraught with peril and numerous spins, more than one, in fact 2. But done a great recovery drive of his own. Same for Milo. Same for Magico, where it all seemed to go wrong right at the very start. Now finds himself in P5, and with the potential for more, with penalties ahead of him. Dirkleton up into P9, because Buck20 has finally decided to go onto the wet tyres, but it might well be too little too late. Vulcan is 18.8 seconds behind Stark, meanwhile. Again, I'm just watching that gap with much anticipation. This is a weird paradox, right? I'm sure someone will answer the question for me. But in the wet, what dry compound is better? Surely it's the softer tyres, or at least I would have thought so, because it's easier to get heat into them quicker. But then the contrast of that and the double-edged sword is that they cool off quicker because they can build the temperature up quicker. Whereas if you have a harder tyre, if you keep it at a high temperature, you actually end up retaining that temperature more. Because it's a harder compound of tyre. Although, as, well, the portrayal there shows that I don't know what I'm talking about. Lap number 16 of the Emilia-Romagna Pizza Pasta Grand Prix, and Vulcan's got up 6 seconds on this lap, and will probably catch the pair of them on the penultimate lap, which is a worry for them. Terziak, your leader then, 9 seconds to gap. Timalele's had a great lap, actually, on the last one. Tyrrell in P3, Milo in P4, Mr. Magico in P5, driving a delightful and... superlatives don't actually add up to the correct phrasing. Honestly. They just don't. He did lose like 1.2 seconds out of that corner. But shut up. J-Lane and Stark in P6 and 7. It's the pain train for those two. As we'll see, we're going to keep on with Stark here, because you're going to see pretty soon a Vulcan in the background. And then that will be the moment where we say to Stark, you done goofed. You done goofed. Vulcan is already in the background. The gap quickly being jumped at furiously by the Campos car. So one might have decided to brave it out on the dry compound. The other one decided to go in late for the wet tyres. And now actually is going to end up overtaking his teammate, and convincingly. 5.5 seconds through Acqua Minerale. The leader's gone on to lap number 17. Terziak's already through Tamburello, for goodness sakes. But Vulcan is not even crossed the line to begin the penultimate lap. He's got the next lap and the one after to catch and overtake Stark and J-Lane, and he's going to do it easily. Hell's bells. Anyway, who says fortune doesn't favour the brave? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Weathered the storm, quite literally. Stayed out, waited, bided their time, strapped on the wet compound tyres, and it's paid off handsomely. Vulcan, though, his late strategy call is about to be paying off handsomely. In the distance is the high-tech of Stark. Through Tamburello, and the pace differential is monstrous. Out of the third corner and to the inside. As much as you might defend Stark, my friend, Vulcan might be coming through. And you know what, actually, that is a very, very good piece of defense from Stark to just hold it round the outside. Onto the grass goes Vulcan. Surely only a matter of time before he goes through. I thought it would be the switchback for him, but with traction aplenty, out of the hairpin. Stark's resistance finally broken down, and Vulcan is through into P7 with just his teammate between him and even more points. He's got to overtake his teammate and then get up the road, because he does have that penalty, remember, and Stark does not. So out of Acqua Minerale, and it was, I mean, J-Lane was driving a Nissan Micra, basically. That was unbelievable. Someone else, though, who, for lack of a better term, is in Pininfarina paradise. It's this man. Terziak has got the 3-second time penalty slapped next to his name, but that won't do anything to harm his progress. Absolutely nothing. Had a bit of a scare early on. J-Lane on the faster compound of tyre tried to make the difference, but not to be. Terziak quickly made amends. He decided to grit his teeth down, and albeit while extending the track limits a little bit, it has been a delightful display from one of Blackout's finest. out of the chicane, just 2 corners to go. And the AIX man, it's felt like he hasn't seen the top step of the podium for a while now. But that can all be put to rest. Out of the final 2 corners, it is a drive of sheer superlatives in San Marino. Come the man, cometh the hour. Terziak takes top spot in Imola in Formula 2. An absolutely tremendous drive from the Flying Scotsman. Imola crosses the line for P2. Tyrrell, all the recovery drives in the world, and gets a podium when all is said and done. Mr. Millo in the McLaren Junior Gabriel Bortoletto's car will come through for P4. It might not have gone well at the start for him or for the man behind him, but this will be some consolation. Magico finishes in P5 for the Prema team to crown 2 and 5 at their home venue. Campos will get 6th and probably 8th because Vulcan comes through the final 2 corners having already built a 10-second gap to his teammate behind. It wasn't even a contest. Wet tyres were the way forward, would you believe it? Dirkleton gets past Stark to rub salt into the wound of the high-tech machine and could even get J-Lane for dramatic effect. Out of the final corner, a bit of a drag race for the MP Motorsport man. It's going to be so close across the line. But with penalties applied, Stark will still take P7. I don't know who would have crossed the line first anyway between those two, but that is mightily close. Some rapturous racing as Slam will be the final person in the VAR car to come across the line. And a half an hour's Formula 2 contest here in the Blackout Racing League comes to a close. And that was a rather nice way to start the week, wasn't it? Tyrrell gets driver of the day according to the game. Captain Bottle Job. Man, only 12 drivers. I ought to buy and download the game and drive on my flight stick. To be honest, a plane probably would have had better handling than an F1 car. I will level with you. A plane would have had immensely more handling. It's not even close. Almost anything with legs on Earth would have had more grip than a Formula 2 car out there. But we have the finest drivers in the game. And with a side flip like that, why is Terziak in Formula 2? Why is he not doing Olympic gymnastics? Or parkour? Bitter wounds to the fact the French Grand Prix doesn't exist, but he lifts the trophy high in Imola. Terziak triumphs at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Those behind him did everything they could at the start, but when push came to shove, Terziak well and truly pushed and shoved his way to the very front, and then some. We won't be able to see the rest of the results, but I can tell you the top 5. Which was Mr. Terziak in P1, Timolele in P2, Tyrrell in P3. If your name begins with a T, forget it. The rest of you can forget it. I'm sorry. It's just not fun. Although, the status quo can change. Remember that. Millo got P4. My darling husband got P5. Vulcan got P6. Stark got 7th. Dirkleton got 8th. I couldn't tell you who was 9th. I know J-Lane was 10th. Who would have got 9th? I'm such an idiot. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it might. Slam was 12th. I know that. Slam was 12th. Buck 57 possibly was 9th. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Buck 20 was, I think, second to last or something. I don't know. I tried my best to figure it out, and instead I swindled myself. So there you are. Great start to the week, though. Formula 2 doesn't disappoint. Hasn't disappointed again. Fan-blimmin-tastic. But there you go. I'm reading a note from the stewards here about J-Lane's penalty at the British Grand Prix. There were many alleged pit infringements during that race. If you haven't seen it, it's on a YouTube. Go and check it out. Just the most mad Grand Prix in all of human history, Britain and Belgium. I could hardly keep up. Was it Britain and Belgium? At least I hope I know it was. Yeah, it was Britain and Belgium. The point is, they were both mad. And this whole season's been mad, generally speaking. I mean, F124 hasn't disappointed in the racing department. I'll tell you that for free. It has been a bit mad. But, yeah, F2 does the job again. With convincing fashion and vim and vigour. What a race. In the end, when all is said and done, Terziak comes out on top. What an absolute legend. And then there was Imola and Tyrrell behind. But there you are. There are some people apparently coming through for race 2, or perhaps they are, being a Jamie Tarquin and possibly a Pathyman as well, which would be quite nice. If any of you Blackout people are here and you want me to join, just, like, give me a shout. Because, like... Actually, no, don't. I can't drive in this game, as I've established. Or maybe I can drive, actually, and I'm just being obtuse to myself, but there you are. I don't even know what I was trying to see, but I was trying to see something about some stewards' decisions or whatever. I've got some clips from last week, which is great fun. J-Lane sent me some after last week and said, as much as we love kid-friendly gambling, please stop. I was like, you know what? Fair enough. I don't blame you. As fun as it is. Although Nintendo apparently have been trying to kill people who ever have been playing their own games, so... Who knows? Who knows? It's certainly an interesting one. Actually, I've sent it through to them now. What we can do is we are going to go and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go down here. You hear that noise, ladies and gentlemen? It's time to use our time wisely. And we are going to do some definitely not gambling. Nintendo will tell you it's definitely not gambling. I'm telling you now. Oh no, I don't want VS Battle. What am I doing? Go to one player. Well, we established how bad I was at it last time. The answer is very, if you haven't seen it. But I've got 3,000 Mueller. And let's put it this way. This nosy Italian plumber won't beat me today one bit. I'm telling you now. So we got some flowers on the board. We got 2 pairs. We've got 2 stars and 2 flowers. I think they'll... Yeah. Right. Here's what we're going to do, everyone. We are going to just let that play out. No one heard that. Right, here we go. And we're going to pretend it never happened. Right, ladies and gentlemen, something very interesting here. We've got some Mario gambling, which is not gambling. But the point is, I've just joined in. I've got 3,108 coins. I haven't lost to Luigi yet today. And I'm going to keep the stars well and truly on the cards. Because we are going to cook 2 pairs. It's stars and Mario for our first one. Right, here's what we're going to do. Okay. What we're going to do is pretend that also didn't happen. Right, guys, here we are. So, 3,100 coins on the table. We've got 2 clouds. It's my first one of the day. We are going to get some even more cloud. No, it's 2 pairs. It's mushrooms and clouds for our first one of the day. It could be a win. It's a win! Shut up! Green man spells bad. You're not a traffic light. Shut up, mate. I don't want to hear it. Stars on the table. Stars in my eyes once I rip all the Mueller out of your possession. I've only got 1 star. I bet he gets 3 of a kind now. Oh, no, never mind. I'm just better. Get out, mate. Fantastic. Well, I caused a dramatic start. You certainly did, my friend. And even then, you made it back up to the top 5. And that is mightily impressive. Mate, Luigi stinks. What's he doing? Man can't get it together. 2 Luigis. Right, okay, cool. Right, I've got you. What you need to do now is give me more of you. Pause. That sounds weird, but 2 pairs on the Of course you give me his Pilates ball brother. Fantastic. Well, I'm getting rid of his Pilates ball brother in this particular instance. Oh, and you just give it to me back! Why? What's the point? And of course you use his horizontally challenged head to win yet another round. Well, you know what? I won the first 3 rounds of this game, so I don't care. Give me your brother, please. You fat nonce. Why would you do that? Oh, for God's sake. Full house. I'll burn your house down. Don't get on the wrong side of me, sunshine. Clouds. Not today. Not today. Just give me more clouds. That's all I said! Oh, for God's sake. Right. Well, I think Luigi is smoking the marijuana. Clips in my DMs. Oh, hark, I hear a sound from the heavens from Jimothy Lane. And now we have some clips to look at. Fantastic. So for those of you that missed last week, I'm hoping we haven't started yet. I'm just watching to make sure we haven't. No, we haven't. We're going to go and watch some clips from Jimothy Lane. What an absolute legend. You sent them across. Thank you very much, Shay Lane. So, onto the full screen we go. And I can't actually remember. Is it that button? I think it's that button. Is it that button? Yes, it's that button. Good evening, Mr. Karl. Just arrived. Good evening, Mr. Pathyman. I'm waving as well. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well, my friend. In the Hugo Visa All-End Cash Up Hugo Contactless RB car. A start there. Smoke in the air ahead of him. It's the almighty smoke screens being billowed up as he gets mightily crossed up by the actually Aston Martin car ahead of Big Sam. Goes round the outside of Pathyman, which then turns to the inside line for the next corner. Someone's barging their way through. Slam is slammer jamming as now into the next left-hander. Big Sam up ahead has a huge slide. In the slipstream goes the Visa Cash App car. Looks to the outside. Big Sam defending a tiny bit there and actually using the momentum. J-Lane says, you know what? Let's send down the inside at Luffield. Timalele has a bit of a snap of oversteer on the outside. J-Lane says, thank you very much. I'll just inherit P6 as well. That was fan-blimmin-tastic for the first clip of the day. But wait, there's more. Let me get out a full screen and load up the next sensational slice of Silverstone. No, that's not what I wanted. You can hear, though, something juicy is about to happen. On board with J-Lane again, though. This for the lead of the race. In the slipstream of Stark, to the outside of the Ferrari driver he goes. And the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls car sweeps around the outside. I said it before on commentary, but that is a delightful move to do round the outside at Stowe. Gets the job done in the left-hander at Village. As he enters into someone's, I don't know whose village, but the point is he enters into someone's village in prime position. And that's not a sentence for the internet to enjoy. Here then is the pit lane penalty that a lot of people might have been wondering about. How did J-Lane get a 10 million second time penalty? This is how. On lap number 9, the safety car came out, made everyone go on the same strategy pretty much. Into the pits, bonks the back of Stark as he's just trying to reach a delta. Everyone behind is crashing all over the place. J-Lane's hit the back of Stark in the process and, well, he gets a time penalty for that. And I too would feel pretty ticked off if that was me in that scenario. Still not even underway, not remotely underway. So back to the action we go. This will be the restart then. This was rather unfortunate. Remember Tom, in my first season of commentating Blackout, remember Tom? He had a massive spin on a safety car restart, did his racing. Well, Vulcan is about to emulate and repeat the feat with some considerable flair. Out of the second to last corner, has a bit of a slide of his own already, hits the curb and then has a bigger slide, spears off into the inside wall. It means J-Lane takes the lead of the Grand Prix and says, well, thank you, but also, why, teammate? Why would you do that? You made it easy for me to overtake, but you didn't need to make it that easy for me to overtake. So why would you do that? On board with Mr. J-Lane again and charging down the inside as a Flying Scotsman of Terziak. Massive contact made. Timalele does well to slalom his way round. And J-Lane's just got the sinking feeling as he's peerlessly plummeting down the order right up until he cuts off Tyrrell. Shuts the door on that one and then is on the inside of Timalele. going down the Wellington straight to the inside of the Mercedes man he goes, but nearly to the outside of the Aston Martin of Terziak as well. Has to try and hold it around. Onset German, a bit of wheel banging again between these two as they head through Woodcote. No cutting across, just like Tyrrell did early on in the race, which sent him spearing off into oblivion. But great racing between those two once again. Well, that is what happened last time out. This time out, though, at the F2 Imola Spectacle, a different story. As you can see, we have J-Lane in the lead of the race. Terziak is 7 tenths behind. This is on lap number 4, and 7 tenths quickly erodes itself into nothingness because Terziak highlights the insignificance of track position, almost getting the overtake done with the DRS, but J-Lane puts up a stout defence to keep the lead at that moment. However, I bet a lot of you were wondering, how much longer would that last for? The answer is, probably not as long as he would have hoped for. But for now, we head to somewhere else, and that is the start of the race. And he did react first, but just kept the revs too low. Massive wheel spin from Terziak up ahead. And in the end, it didn't actually hamper J-Lane's progress that much. Magico had a bit of an issue down in P10. But as for J-Lane, watching Terziak up ahead, keeping him honest, those tyres, of course, the mediums, will be a lot more difficult to get up into the appropriate temperature window. And towards the Villeneuve chicane, the Campos man is all over him. A minute's worth of footage and food to feast on with my commentary wiles. To the inside of Tosa, a potential dive from J-Lane actually scares Terziak offline. Good piece of opportunism and racecraft from the Campos driver, side by side, all the way up the hill towards Piratella. To the outside is Mr. Terziak, and sweeping round on the harder compounded tyres, and still side by side towards Aqua Minerale. It's absolutely rapturous racecraft from the pair of them. Out of mineral water, there you go, though, and Terziak does hold the lead. We do know, though, that J-Lane would get the lead a bit later on, towards the end of that lap, if not on the next lap. On to the third clip he sent me from Imola. On board with J-Lane. Here he is, and to the outside is Tyrrell, and, well, I see a problem. I see a big, big problem, and this is why, from now on, it's actually good advice to have my commentary on in the background, because to you and me, this looks like a bone-dry track. To EA Sports, they call this, and I am quoting, "Damn, it's soaking." So, as you can see, J-Lane here, it's a dry corner. Someone on the wet tyres to the right of him. Complete hooligan in the Trident car. And then J-Lane goes to the apex, is braking for Tamburello, and actually wondering, as he turns in, why he's got the understeering of a rhinoceros that is dead. As he then has a spinning moment, there's smoke billowing off the tyres, and a biff from Milo to boot. And through he goes on the wet tyres, J-Lane wondering how on earth he's been blue-balled like this. Quite literally by blue banded tyres. As out of Tamburello he goes, and well, that is probably why then, him and Stark did not change tyres. All makes absolute sense now. And it's because EA are egregious and awful. Ladies and gentlemen, enough. It's time for qualifying for the next race here at Kota. Back to the tyres we know and love in Formula 1. The soft, the medium, and the hard compound tyres. Depends on what C tyres they've used. Given it's America, I wouldn't be surprised if the C4 had something to do with things. But Dirkleton is the first one out on the track. Usually him or Big Sam. Since Big Sam was no longer in the equation, that would have been my prediction anyway. Sweeping through the right-hander. I have never driven Kota on this game. Does it look any different from where I am sitting? In a word, no. Let's run on board with the Red Bull Rampage, though. Out of the final corner, a snap of oversteer. As he then piles on the power. Hurtles on the battery. The Duracell Bunny is crying, but braking just after the black box. On the right-hand side, a bit wide of the apex, but you can carry the momentum. The main thing is getting on the power as early as possible. Hug the inside for the shortest distance, and now it's confidence and composure through this S section. That was so close from Dirkleton to possibly invalidating, but just about keeps it together. Sweeping all the way through in a Maggots Beckett's mock-up as we head out of the left-hander. It actually does quite well at being a Maggotts Beckett's mock-up. A test of aerodynamics and bravery at the end of the day. Pinching the nose in, brake as late as you dare for the hairpin, get the car straightened out, and once again, put on that overtake button. Down the back straight we go then. DRS wide open, as you can see from that camera shot. Maximum flappage. And then back on board as we brake at about the 100-meter board to pinch the apex there. Get on the power with second gear, possibly even third. But then it's through these corners. The sweeping right, probably one of the hardest traction zones on the track. Just after this one comes along, and it's another difficult traction zone. Exhibit A. Dirkleton has a huge snap as he tries to resuscitate the car out of the corner. Again, overtake through the sweeping right-hander. Easiest place to get track limits done over the line. Dirkleton keeps it well within his rights. And through the final corner, it's a clean and comfortable lap from the Red Bull driver. It's a 1 minute 34.667. Meanwhile, who's coming up to the end of their lap? It's Tyrrell, the third place man in the F2 race. What time can he set? It's a 1:32.8. And that is astronomically fast. Let's see what the McLaren man of Milo has now. God, they graduated from Formula 2 quickly, I have to say. How do they struggle so much? Oh, only a 10th off. Milo's not that far off the front of the field, and let's see what his teammate can hold up. Can he hold a candle to the front too? We're about to find out. Across the line, it's not far off. 4 tenths away, and Buck 57 is in solidarity with his Buck counterpart, just over 2 tenths off. Across the line also goes a V-carb car and another V-carb car. Starting a lap is J-Lane, and unfortunately he invalidated right before the end of his lap. Magico across the line, and it is P7 at the moment, but still plenty of time for things to change. As through the first corner he goes, J-Lane goes for a bit of sightseeing on the inside. Magico used absolutely no battery, so there you go. No wonder. Here's Pathiman, and he's invalidated as soon as I've watched him. I might be a cursor, I'm very sorry. J-Lane says, dries were not the call, the sun lies. The main thing to take from this is EA Sports Life. I think that's what we can all take away with us today. Well, it seems that Magico is the only one actually on a competitive flying lap, or at least a competitive flying lap attempt. DRS wide open for the Mercedes Maestro. Towards that left-hander, use as much of the track as you dare into the braking zone. Half the car off there, braking on the curb. Slight lock-up on the left, but pinching the apex very nicely indeed. And then sweeping round to the right. Use as much of the track as you can to carry the momentum. You've got to be so careful on the power. Locking up again into this left-hander. Can afford to take it a little bit wider than you think. Brake late, turn in, apex late. And then you set yourself up for a good exit. And sweeping round the right-hander, holding it to the inside for the shortest line, and then just a final corner to traverse for Magico. Circumnavigation Dakota, up into P6 he goes, and not too far away from Mr. Dirkleton ahead. Across the line goes J-Lane, and I can only assume he's now actually on a flying lap, and he certainly is. Stark also about to start a flying lap. Someone that is actually on a flying lap, though, is this man. Jamble Tarquin. And is he on a wheel? The answer is you can bet your bottom dollar he is. Was his first week on a wheel last time out. And it seems like he's already taking it like a duck to water. Which rather inappropriately meant he missed the last race. That was almightily quick through the second to last corner. Jamie Tarquin leaving nothing on the table. Across the line, it's provisional pole by nearly 6 tenths. And that did look astronomically fast. Sliding through the first corner. And if there was ever a time to weave in celebration, which he has done on some of his laps, now is that time. Dirkleton, meanwhile, also was on another lap. He's extended his margin to Mr. Magico behind to about half a second. J-Lane, however, has just exited Sector 2. He hasn't exited Exeter. We're very much in the wrong country, although the USA's done a good job of stealing our place names. Or maybe we stole them from them. that's a conversation for another day. Look at the undulations in the background there briefly. However, the ebbs and flows of COTA, J-Lane's put them to the test. And across the line he'll go. It's P4. J-Lane's loving life in Blackout at the moment, ever since he's got that win in Bahrain, ever since that week, honestly, where he won Saudi Arabia on the track. Stark's gone up to P3, meanwhile. That's a cracking lap there. In the Ferrari, in the number 5. I miss Sebastian Vettel. There'll be no commentator's curse this time, though. Don't you worry, Mr. Pathyman. That's a very nice turn 1, and now I won't watch you. You carry on your merry way. Mr. Terziak, though, has also just started a lap in the Aston Martin car. The Lone Ranger this time. It's been Big Sam last week, and now Terziak is the only one holding the fort for the British-based team. And using all of the track limits he can through the first sector. Unparalleled commitment from the Flying Scotsman, and it's a purple Sector 1, quite obviously. Hugging the curbs like nothing else. Using the track limits as lusciously as possible. One car's just exiting the back straight, the other one just beginning it. Towards the end of Sector 2 comes the Alpine of Pathyman. His teammate in P2, and he's actually got a purple Sector 2 according to my screen. That's stonking from the French connection. A big lock up into there, but taking a nice wide line to set the car up and the exit. So we can dart out of the corner, pearl on the power, bite into the bitumen with the soft tyres. And now only 2 corners to go. No invalidations this time, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Pathyman, with a plan, in his French van, crosses the line. It's P2. Lovely lap there from Pathyman. No commentator's curse this time, but now it's up to Terziak to try and trounce the field. No less Jamie Tarquin. He does so for the time being. 6 tenths dropped on the head of the Red Bull driver. And Jamie Tarquin's lap looked fast, but Terziak has done a number there in his Aston Martin machine. Someone called 007. I think they've leaked some of his illegal equipment. Terziak strapped it onto his car and super glued the plank to the floor. It's got endless grip. Look at that. I am not an F1 engineer. Don't try super gluing your plank to the floor. Tyrrell's just crossed the line. He's up to a 130, down rather. He's chipped away down to a 133.301. Across the line goes the next challenger, and that is Buck 57 to start a flying lap in the Williams machine. Home, of course, now to certain Argentine young driver, Franco Colapinto, who is doing a mighty good job, I must say. Well, 2 out of the 3 Ts, the usual suspects in the top 3. Timolele attempting to join them with a purple Sector 2. Times are tumbling thick and fast here in COTA. And technically, Jamie Tarquin can be added to that list as J-Lane's crossed the line, gone up to P5. Stark's entered the pit lane. That's a mighty lap from J-Lane. Again, just a couple of temps, but a couple of temps is all he needs. And some grass grazing for good effect. Well done, you. Timolele then, through the final corner he goes. What kind of a lap time is this going to be? No battery left, and it's P4 for the Mercedes man. As Jamie Tarquin is onto the track, he's on an out lap. I don't know if Jamie's actually tuned into this, but are you using a wheel? I have a feeling you are. And if you are, which I believe you are, you're doing very well after not that much time, so keep it up. Cool, blimey. The Xbox boys taking a leaf out of many a champion before him's book. If in doubt, use a wheel. You get places. Buck 57's up to P9. He's moving up places, albeit 1, but past his Buck counterpart. Psychological advantage right there as Jamie Tarquin begins his next flying lap of the session. Through the first corner, a huge slide, and that's not going to help his time whatsoever. And he's weaving away at the wheel. He's celebrating the Tokyo Drift, and it does get an 8 out of 10 from the crowd. But at the end of the... Well, that's not the line through. That didn't invalidate, by the way. I suggest using that in the race because clearly the stewards forgot their guide dogs. Visa Cash App RB car of J-Lane, number 74. Currently that first number is where he lies in the table. Milo's up to P5 meanwhile with 132.5. And actually pushing like mad. This might well be his flying lap. Never mind. Forget what I'm... No, it isn't. Never mind again. Into the pit row he goes. Anyone actually on a lap? No. I mean, Vulcan's on an hour lap, which I guess counts, but... that's no fun, is it? Ready for the 2 minutes. Oh, that's what I was about. I was about to say, I'm just going to take a nap for a couple of minutes. There's nothing happening. No one's watching. Jamie Tarquin's just absolutely flown through the second to last corner. I saw the speed in which he took it in his first flying lap, and I was like, that is quick. And I was right. It was very quick. Unsurprisingly, he's currently P2 with his first flying lap. Others have tried multiple times to best him, and they have failed. The only driver who did manage at the first time of asking was the Aston Martin assassin of Terziak. He was the only one that could hold a candle to Jamie Tarquin's time initially. And a rather big candle. In fact, he held a flamethrower to it. But 3.5 minutes to go of this session. And plenty of time for things to change. And why has Buck 57 got end plate damage? What's he done there? Good grief, honestly. Can't get the drivers sometimes, can you? Get damage when it's just not necessary. Like me. Elsewhere, Vulcan has just started a lap. In the V-Carb car, what could prove to be his last one of the day. A bit of a snap of oversteer. Out of the first corner. A couple of cars beginning to just chip away at their tyres, but we're waiting for the massive rush back out onto the track. Mello's made the move to do it. So has Stark. So has Dirkleton. But now we're waiting for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars to do the same. All of the top 4, 6th and 7th place, and Buck 20 to boot. We're all waiting, and there's an Alpine just exiting the pit lane. Who is it? Answer is Tyrrell has been the first one to pull the trigger of the leading group. 2 minutes left to go in this session. And if they want to have one more lap in this session, they better start thinking about getting out of the pit. Because there's not that much time left. Jamie Tarquin's out of the pit lane. Stark's just started a lap, lads. Please get out of the way. Otherwise, it's going to get very, very grisly. Terziak on pole position, and they do very well to get out of the way. Each and every one of them. Great job. Well done. Stark not distracted. On he continues. Vulcan then, through the sweeping right-hander. Will be the first one to lay the gauntlet of the last times. To test the track evolution to its fullest potential. To help others around him acclimatise to the track conditions. To understand how much more grip there might be. A big snap out of the final corner. And Vulcan spins agonisingly just before the finishing line. And it will not be an improvement for the V-Carb man. And I mean, if he cuts every corner, he'll probably get time to do one more lap, but I don't advise it. Magico's moved up to P10. What a bloody superstar. And now the times will begin tumbling. Dirkleton through the second to last corner. That looked very tasty. And then through the final corner. Adorning. I think also the number 5. Who's not got the number 5 on their car? Well, Dirkleton invalidated his lap time, so that's the end of that. Stark, meanwhile, it's coming out of the penultimate corner and has invalidated and is very angry. And I don't know what lap time it would have been. It wouldn't have been an improvement anyway. It would have been a 10th off, which is rather sad, really. Jamie Tarquin is across the line to start his final flying lap. Mr. Milo is currently technically on a flying lap, although he's used this lap to actually warm up his tyres for one lap more. He's got 20 seconds to cross the line, though, so we better get a move on. But 20, he's crossed the line to start his lap, as has Terziak, as has J-Lane, as has everybody under the sun. Get ready, lads. It's going to get heavy. Plenty of time to spare, actually, for Milo to cross the line and begin his final flying lap of the session. Bit of overtake as he heads towards turn 1. So, Jamie Tarquin has already invalidated. Well, that puts pay to that one, although it'll be interesting to see what time he probably possibly would have got in this session. What about Buck 20? He's not invalidated. He's still going strong, as is Terziak, as is J-Lane. Timalele, how are you doing? Yep, you're not invalidated. You're doing well. And Jamie Tarquin gets well out of the way. Magico retires from the session. That qualifying has been completed. Buck 20's going purple through Sector 2. Still twists and turns to go in Cota qualifying. The McLaren will be the first one to lay the gauntlet. I've no idea what Terziak's time is like, although a big slide out of that left-hander will not do any favours for him. McLaren driver through the final 2 corners. None of them really using the track limits and maximising them to the fullest potential. Tyrrell can't get pole position. Buck 20 moves up to 6th, but he can't improve either. Terziak pits, that's his qualifying session done. J-Lane next to cross the line. He's gone up to P5. Lovely little lap. What can Timalele do? No, he's up to P2. I thought for a second he pit. That really confused me, but it's not enough. It is the front row, though, for the Mercedes man. Milo, then, what can he do? Not that much. It's a very, very, very marginal improvement. Incremental details added up to 28 thousandths of a second. McLaren host the 4th row here at the Circuit of the Americas. But the man with the most freedom out in front is the man in the pit lane. The Flying Scotsman on top in the land of the free. Something about freedom. Scotland, America? No. Just me? Oh, okay, fair enough. Mr. Terziak takes pole position by 3.5 tenths of a second. Timalele P2, Tyrrell P3. Just forget it, honestly. I told you, these 3. Can't stop them. Why do I bother? Tarquin in P4. Well done, sir. Your first lap was pretty remarkable. J-Lane in 5th, Pathiman in 6th. Kudos to you as well. Milo in 7th, Buck 20 in 8th. Stark 9th, Buck 57 in 10th with Magico, Dirkleton and Vulcan completing our grid lineup here in Formula 1 territory. And so, time for a nap. Wait. Well, wake up and look at the load screen. And now for another nap very shortly. Good morning. Good morning. That's the biggest paddock club I've ever seen in human history. And yes, it is because it's America. Welcome to race day, everyone. Here in the Blackout Racing League, the Guinness World Record for the biggest body mass index on a paddock pass has been achieved since we are in the land of the cheeseburgers. But he will have the flavour for victory. He will have that sweet taste of trophies. Will it be Terziak again with that convincing pole position and his peerless pace? Will it be Timalele taking it through with his incremental precision to detail? That was almost very offensive. I'm never doing that again. 3rd place man, though, Tyrrell. He's always consistently quick. Could this be his moment? But then we've got Milo in P4. J-Lane not far behind. Pathiman not far behind. Well, Milo's P7, actually. I don't know why I said that. Jamie Tarquin's the man in P4. But it will be 5 red lights. No dawdling here in America. Words. Lights out and away we go. Medium tyres all the way around pretty much. And Timalele doesn't get the start he would have desired. It's Tyrrell actually trying to go around the outside at turn number 1. But nothing doing there. Has to settle for position. And it means he's been exposed to the Tarquin. Jamie Tarquin all over the back of him. Stark's had a wonderful start. Up into P6 he goes, as Pathiman is now in a McLaren sandwich. Magico up into P10, and so the story goes. Through these sweeping complex of corners, and Jamie Tarquin's all over the back of Tyrrell. Terziak with half a second's worth of daylight, though, out in front. Oh my god, J-Lane with a dive bomb from Narnia. Where on earth did that come from? That was mightily bold and brave. But it could well pay off. It's a drag race. down the back straight. No DRS. That's after lap number 1 is completed. Still was side by side for the majority of the straight, but in the end has to settle back into the wheel tracks of the Red Bull livery car. In fact, the Red Bull car, because Jamie Tarquin on board with the Red Bull man, the Xbox boy. The only Xbox boy in the field. That's rather lonely, but looking for every switchback on Tyrrell. Jamie Tarquin is out for blood. Already showing that grit and desire, and it's not even been a full lap completed, although J-Lane looks to the inside again, trying to pile on even more pressure on the, well, his bigger brother Red Bull team up ahead, as Terziak has a 4/10 gap out in front. Pathiman in the background with an agonising mistake. Milo goes through into P8, and Magico sweeps through into P9 for good measure. Big racing again between these three. Jamie Tarquin, J-Lane now start getting involved. So close through the sweeping S section. Look at that for an astute observation of the battling that's going on. Jamie Tarquin defends his position well, but has lost so much time to the cars ahead. We'll now see what his pace is truly made of, as using probably a bit of battery to try and get some DRS, but he's just outside of it. He's got no battery left to fight with whatsoever, and hoping for a good exit out of the hairpin, but that's certainly not happened. And J-Lane now with the DRS. Mighty deployment, sumptuous slipstream, and breezing through into P4. Stark will go through into P5, and Buck 20 goes down the inside to claim P6. All switcheroos happening here at the Circuit of the Americas. Jamie Tarquin potentially looking to the inside there, but Buck 20, he's got a golden ticket. A front row seat as J-Lane and Stark go into combat. The sweeping right-hander is done and dusted. Milo's on the back of this train now. Pathiman's got back past Magico. A 5-car train between P9 and the back of the field. And another 5-car train between P4 and 8th place. Holy moly. J-Lane trying to break the slipstream of Stark as we head on to lap number 3. I'm hardly watching the lead battle, but Timalele's taken the lead for the time being. Stark and Buck 20 going side by side. Jamie Tarquin now keeping a watchful eye on proceedings as we head through the sweeping section. The Maggots-Beckett's mock-up complex, and the top 3 are now finally getting into the thick of it. That's unfortunate. Timalele through the hairpin he goes. From the screen, here's the scene. Timalele reigning supreme. Terziak, though, coming clean with a battle. He's coming through, or trying to get through. No DRS assistance for the Mercedes man. The Aston Martin Ace doesn't go for the move, which is rather surprising. I'm going to level with you. That is rather surprising. Both on about the same amount of battery. And they'd probably do well, actually, to work together and use their pace. But Tyrrell is looking very, very menacing. Trying to go around the outside of the left-hander. Attempting the switcheroo, but nothing doing. No switchback central for you, Alpine driver, says the Flying Scotsman. And now we can turn our attention to what's happening behind again. There's J-Lane. The 3 cars behind in hot pursuit. And no real space opening up at the moment between the top 3 and the rest of the field. J-Lane's got some great pace at the moment, in race pace, in that V-carb car. This is what the tyre situ looks like. J-Lane on the medium tyres, in fact pretty much everyone on the medium tyres, except for a few. 2 on the softs, that being Stark and Buck 20, and 2 on the hard compound tyres of Buck 57 and Mr. Magico, who has already got a 3-second time penalty. And that's not very good. Tyrrell is practically pushing Terziak through Kota. It's rather unbelievable. And there's rain. Again, there is rain. Much, much earlier this time. No strategic sidewinder or jackknifing to be done this time, as very wide goes Tyrrell. Completely misjudges his braking point, and it gives Terziak the breathing space he so desperately desired. Just can save some battery down the straight just a little bit As he closes up to the back of Imola, there is nothing doing, though, in terms of a move. Stark might try something, though. Round the outside. Brave and bold on the brakes. But ultimately, with the rain coming down, that grip is slowly degrading on this track. And Stark doesn't have the purchase he would have perhaps been promised in previous laps. Now has Buck 20 to worry about. Magico and Buck 57, however, going for a nice little juicy scrap. Very nice between the two of them. All the Blackout boys know how to put on a show. And, oh no! Jamie Tarquin's gone round! Jamie Tarquin's gone round in a big way. And him and Buck 20 have come to blows. It's front wing damage for the McLaren driver. And Jamie Tarquin already saying, enough is enough. I'm pulling the trigger here on lap number 5. And possibly it's an immediate intermediate switch. Which I'll soon find out. Some of the leading group have made the bold move. J-Lane, one of them. He's gone out onto the intermediates, as has the alien Tyrrell in the Alpine. Stark, forget it. The whole field's gone onto... Screw it. Screw it! The whole field's on intermediates. Why bother? Oh, and DRS disabled. Imola has the lead by 1.7 seconds. But the track deteriorating at such a devastating rate, and it could provide the same consequences for the top 3 currently. Dirkleton, Terziak, Imola, who have stayed out for one more lap. Tyrrell and co, on the wet tyres, have thrust themselves back into the forefront of this race. A lovely helicopter shot here on lap number 5. Only lap number 5. Good grief. Oh, look at that. Convulsive Stumbling has sent me a chat. Listen to this, guys. Best viewers on streamboo.space.com. He says also remove the space. And, well, I must trust someone who actually tells me when their grammar is wrong in the message, instead of actually correcting it themselves before sending it. That is someone I can trust. The track is so bad already. Dirkleton had a 7-second gap of daylight between himself and Tyrrell, but now the cloud cover really has provided catastrophe, because now the gap is essentially nothing on board with the Alpine man, and it's only a matter of time. Slamming on the power, and Tyrrell drifts round the outside. J-Lane goes down the inside. He's being attacked from all angles as Dirkleton, but through go the Alpine and V-Carb man, and what could be first and second in this Grand Prix. Immediately. Terziak and Imola stayed out for that one extra lap, and it might well have cost them a really dastardly amount. Tyrrell leads the US Grand Prix. J-Lane up to P2. Stark now up into P3 for Ferrari. Tim into P4. Millo's in P5. Terziak all the way down to 6th. Jamie Tarquin's had a big issue, by the way, and that's why, because he's been pitted onto hards. His team did not heed his cries, and now he's got to go on the intermediate tyres. But I've seen how good his pace is, especially in qualifying, and there's no reason why he can't cook up something wonderful. Both Red Bulls then, 12th and 13th. That's what McLaren essentially need in order for Lando Norris to have any hopes of winning the Drivers' Championship. And for him, of course, to win every single race under the sun. But you're leading too. Tyrrell and J-Lane. Tyrrell had those mistakes when the rain came in, made the bold call to go onto the intermediates, or perhaps it wasn't so bold, because it did seem like the track dropped off that rapidly, that it made so much sense to get onto the intermediate tyres. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in the same camera shot. From Tyrrell all the way down to Millo. And this is going to be a tasty time. Goodness gracious me. Elsewhere, Mr. Magico's all over the back of Vulcan. In his Mercedes car. Looking to get the traction on. Perhaps could switch to the inside and try something very, very quirky. Remains on the outside of Vulcan. Vulcan leaves him space. You don't see many people go around the outside of the left-hander, but Magico just has. Buck 20, though, got the pair of them. It's a through goes Buck 20 moment, but Magico round the outside of the left-hander as well to boot. Both of them making the move on the V-Carb driver. Up at the front, the gap down to just under 7 tenths, albeit briefly. Stark and Timolele getting on with this tasty train. 4 cars right in the thick of it. Milo will hope to latch onto the back of them soon if they start battling away. Which they can really ill afford to do if they want to have any sort of progress in this race. But Milo will be going, yes, boys, please, keep fighting. Do whatever you need to do. I'm happy sitting here eating my popcorn. Sweet, salty, it doesn't really matter which way you want your popcorn. The point is, he's going to be lapping this battling up. Tyrrell just beginning to escape from J-Lane, and it means he's fallen into the clutches of Stark. The Ferrari man deploying the battery. So is J-Lane. Putting up as much of a defence as possible, but to the inside goes Stark. He's trying to make it academic. J-Lane's making it, well, pretty awful for Stark. He does everything he can to try and get past. At the left, he says, fine, the outside line of the right-hander will be mine instead. J-Lane hanging on for dear life. Better cover off the inside or Stark's coming straight through. Diving down the inside, the Ferrari man surely has P2 in the bag, but no. The momentum round the outside, the tremendous traction from the V-carb. It's allowing Tyrrell to escape. Stark had a bit of a wobble on the outside. That's all the invitation that J-Lane needed to cement himself back into his P2 position. The racing has been flabbergastingly good, it must be said. Maybe it's just an F124 thing. We get onto F124 and it's just battles galore. Stark goes down the inside. Again, run it back. It's volume 2 of the Stark J-Lane Chronicles. And oh, he's been pinched. J-Lane makes contact with Stark. Timolele's trying to get involved. He's on the inside of the Ferrari driver. Through the S's, though, he backs well out of that one. All 3 of them opting for safety rather than sheer brutality. J-Lane somehow remains in P2. Stark remains in P3. Unbelievably, they all remain in the race. Where in another alternate universe, J-Lane and Stark would have speared off into the wall, and Timolele would have been like, roll out the red carpet. He's trying to roll out his own red carpet, though, looking to the inside of Stark. Trying to put Stark under pressure, but pressure makes diamonds. And Stark really is one of the finest cut gems in the Blackout series. But Timolele is a very fast gem. What do you classify as a fast gem? I don't know. What is a fast gem? What gem do you think of and go, you know what? Yes, that gem right there is quick. No idea. Probably some Minecraft lore to that. Some battling going on then. Milo's waltzing up to the back of this train, but someone's waltzed up to the back of Milo. The Flying Scotsman is back. Been chewing his way through. The rain sort of extinguished his charge at the front. Although he's got the coal fire burning again. He's polluting the planet, but he feels good while doing it. What a heartless man. But the Aston Martin assassin is trying to relieve Milo of P5 up ahead. Timolele continuing to put on the pressure here. Stark's actually gone into the pit lane. Stark got front wing damage, or perhaps it's the wet tyres going on. Oh, yes, it is. Well, fortune favoured the bold in the first phase. Perhaps lightning will strike twice. The Ferrari adorning the number 5. Let's see if Stark has well and truly cooked. We'll be watching the gap with eagerness and anticipation beyond description, as Terziak did get past Milo for P4 in the Aston Martin. Magico's on the back of Stark here. He can actually have a great go at the Ferrari driver. Don't want to mess with my husband. He's a lethal weapon. Through the S's they go. And Stark might have made the wrong decision. I'm not going to lie. He has lost numerous tenths of a second to buck 20 up ahead. In fact, more than numerous tenths of a second. And it's pain stations for Ferrari. Or maybe it's just getting the tyres up to temperature. We'll be on the lookout for that. Tim's trying to make a move on J-Lane. Diving down the inside. Goes to Mercedes man. J-Lane will pay his compliments by holding it round the outside. Just enough space left for the Visa Cash App car to try and make it through. A big snap of oversteer as the rear brakes lock up into the right-hander. And Timolele goes through, but not for long. J-Lane's back diving down the inside to throw Timbo off kilter. But the momentum assists Timolele's charge into P2. And confirmed, ladies and gentlemen, no, it's not time for the wet tyres. Stark's gap's now increased to buck 20 to 8.4 seconds. So for those of you that are listening, don't go on the wet tyres yet. It's probably not time. The pace clearly is not good enough. But I'll keep you updated. This is the benefits you get when you're watching live. You actually get intel from the weatherman and dataman. That weatherman and dataman being me. Up at the front, Tyrrell has a 2-second gap between himself and Imola. J-Lane in P3, Terziak in P4, and is almost within striking distance of J-Lane. Milo in 5th, Pathiman in 6th, Buck 57 7th with his Buck counterpart in 8th, and trying to pile on insurmountable pressure. Stark in 9th, Magico in 10th, although Stark will be feeling the pain plummeting through his veins because, well, the course of action he took to put on the wet tyres was not the inspired decision he possibly would have hoped, although through the S's there, he's gaining a few temps. Watch this space, lads. All hope might not be lost. But we don't know how long this heavy rain is going for. That's my other thing. So there you go. Terziak now in the slipstream of J-Lane. Has plenty of battery to boot. Does he dare to dive down the inside? You bet he does. Just alongside at the braking zone. J-Lane has enough space, though, to go round the outside and maintain his position. Great defence being put up by the Visa Cash App car. And Terziak will have another go here down the inside at the double left-hander. Lovely piece of opportunism, and the angle was so narrow and so obtuse by the time he got in that he was always going to get through. A bit of a shimmy and a shake, though, through the right-handers. And Terziak, the Aston Martin, the Lone Ranger, up into P3. It's still not time for the wet tyres, don't go in. There you go, everyone. Stark still not really gaining time. He's lost less time than he did last time, but only a bit less. Still lost about 5 tenths on this lap, so you're still good. But we'll see what the lead battle begins, how it begins to develop as Imola here on lap number 11 of this race. It's going at a rather slow pace, but that is because of the rain more than anything else. But Tyrrell is your leader. Imola trying to get within a second. Terziak also keeping them honest in 3rd place. He's managed his rampant rise up the ranks very, very well indeed. And Vulcan and Dirkleton having a little bit of a scrappy into turn 1. Very nice. Jamie Tarquin so far not made as many amends as he would have hoped with his intermediate tyres. Would have certainly hoped for more with the pace he did showcase with his one clean lap in qualifying, but not to be at the moment. Which is rather sad, and another slide out of turn 1. It's a little bit overzealous. It's about remaining calm, keeping composed in the rainy conditions. Rule number 1. Someone who is cool and composed is Imola. Tyrrell, though, has been cool as a cucumber up at the front, but now we'll see what this offensive overload will do to him. That will be the real test for the Alpine man. Through the double left-hander, there you go, on board with the Mercedes man. Watching every micrometric measurement of that Alpine car. The millimetric movements that could decide a mistake. And there's one of them, for instance. Just beginning to turn up the heat is Imola. Through the final corner they go on to lap number 12 of the US Grand Prix. And I can almost comfortably predict they were both on about the same battery. I was wrong. Tyrrell's on about half battery, having to defend for all his life. And Terziak's catching up to the pair of them while all of this is going on. It's really playing into his hands as well at this particular stanza of this race. The Circuit of the Americas providing furious freedom and fiery fighting. And it's about how wide you make your car in America. Oh no, J-Lane's left the session. Oh no, well, Mr. Milo better watch out, because it could get rather rancid. It's J-Lane's car now being controlled. Look how early it's braking. Milo's got all the time in the world here. Gets a good exit, and with ERS to boot, he's going to yam on the power. And, well, J-Lane's AI not afraid to use every single morsel of battery that remains. Defending harder than most of the drivers today, pretty much, but brakes so early, resistance is futile. Milo moves up into P4, and J-Lane's AI can do nothing. As Timalele's taken the lead in all of this, Terziak goes diving down the inside. Again, it's his favourite overtaking spot, and he's tried it again now. Has to try and hold it round the outside of the right-handers. Can he squeeze on the power and hold that momentum round? He's doing his utmost. Has the inside line for the penultimate corner. Great racing and contact made as a mistake from Tyrrell sends a confetti of carbon fibre all over the shop. But in the end, Terziak ascends into P2. Tim's into P1. Tyrrell has lost 2 positions in the space of half a lap. Speaking of someone making up positions, it's Buck 20. Towards turn number 1, look at the elevation change up the hill. Could go for a disgusting dive instead. Pathiman goes defensive, and perhaps a switchback is on the cards for the McLaren man, attempting to maul his prey of Pathiman. Buck 20 playing Predator here in Kota, but in the end, Pathiman holds firm in P6. Both of them, though, catching up to J-Lane's AI. And Pathiman better waste no time overtaking it, because Buck 20's pushing him through the complex of corners. Overtaking move from Pathiman. Also overtaking move from Buck 20. And has got great momentum. Look at that heli chopper shot. And Buck 20, well, he actually lays back because he knows the slipstream is supreme. Forget what I said. The switchback is supreme. But remember, he is running 100 wings. His car is basically digging into the floor. But Pathiman concedes at the end of the straight. Buck 20 slips on through into P5. And had it been, well, reversed and upside, well, had it been just reversed, it would have been P2, and then it would have been slipped through into P2, and he would have been commending my poetry. J-Lane's back in the lobby, so the pain will last no longer. The front 2 of Timalele and Terziak are breaking away at the front, though. Tyrrell has lost 2.5 seconds to these two, and actually, the rain is getting lighter. The rain is getting lighter around the circuit of the Americas. That is not great news if you are a wet-weathered Ferrari. Well, he has done well to actually limit the damage. Caught up to about 6.9 seconds to the cars ahead, so he's doing well, is Mr. Stark, actually. Credit where credit's due, and using the wet stuff on the inside to just try and cool down the tyres a little bit. They will be casserolling themselves as Magico is into the pit lane. I assume for another set of intermediate tyres. Wet tyres would not be the play. Oh, I see. Mr. Magico is into the pits then for medium compound tyres. So the track's scheduled to dry out, and perhaps this is the team game being played here, just acclimatising and allowing for Timalele to get the best intel at the proper moment. Unfortunately, I too have the intel, and with that kind of burnout out of the pit lane, I'll tell you all now, it's not time for the slick tyres. Back out to the front though, Terziak is keeping Timalele honest, keeping the gap to just under a second. God, when Thanasi gets back, imagine the scenes. Tim, Terziak, Thanasi, Tyrrell and Tarquin. 5 Ts going ham. Absolute bloody unbelievable spectacle. McLaren are 4th and 5th, by the way. I feel like we forgot to mention them in this race. A significant amount, and I do apologise, because they genuinely have had a great crack at things at this race. They started on the 4th row, now find themselves 4th and 5th. Consistency is key, especially when it comes to the Constructors' Championship. McLaren have always found themselves near the front or at the front of that squabble. And results like that would go a long way in providing the ultimate result. Magico's lost 6 seconds on this lap alone, so I can confidently tell you it's not time for the slicks, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, J-Lane, no! A 10-second time. Oh, I say a 10-second. If the FIA were like real life, it would be disqualification. But Stark's come into the pit lane off his wet tyres. It has actually stopped raining now, so it's not a bad call to try and go onto some dry tyres. And Stark is making the next bold call. Onto the medium tyres goes the Ferrari faithful. And the lone Ferrari faithful. Wilco is not there. It's just him taking up the reins. Let's listen to the onboard then. Or not, because the game doesn't want to switch camera. Now we will. Braking into turn 1, and there's absolutely no grip. Terziak's closer than he's ever been, but not close enough to really make a move in his Aston Martin car. The Mercedes man up in front of him, taking all the lines he needs to take and driving as dutifully as he needs to. Although, things getting drier and drier all the way through. A bit of a yellow flag there for, I believe, Vulcan, and he's got damage on the front right end plate. Stark is catching him, although I don't know whether that's just because of the front wing damage or whether that's because the slicks are now slightly coming into a league of their own. I have no idea, but we're going to turn on the lap time data to answer that question. Almost going outside of track limits to Stark, and he's lost 8 attempts out of that corner. Don't go on to slicks yet. The Terziak Tim train continues onto lap number 16 of the US Grand Prix. Tyrrell in P3 in a world of his own, although Milo just beginning to reel him in slightly. Buck 20 reeling in the pair of them respectively. And Pathiman has a bit of a train behind him. He's got Buck 57 and J-Lane on his derriere, and he'd be rather hoping they could get out of there, because he's going to have to do some defensive duties. Buck 57, all he's thinking is attack, attack, attack. No feeling to go unnecessarily for a dive into turn number 1. Just biding his time. Patience pays off handsomely. Normally. That's what I found when I did it anyway. If you bide your time. Bide your time. Use the DRS. Or use the slipstream. Or force your opponent into a mistake. It can go a long way. Sometimes being arty and crafty can go a long way. Then aggro stations. Stark, meanwhile, slick tyres were not the play. Jamie Tarquin on the inters is all over the back of him. And he's going to make up another position. It's the Red Bull driver. Jamie Tarquin, congratulations. You made an overtake, my friend. Well done. Stark sliding around, trying to keep the car under control at this stage. Absolutely no purchase whatsoever for the medium tyres. This track is nowhere near ready for the slick tyres. These two just loving life here in Kota. Driving intergalactically quickly. Hardly anyone can compare. Buck 20 actually is reeling in Milo at a rather rapid rate of knots, especially on this last lap. Buck 57 and J-Lane, though, they're going into combat through the double right, and a big slide for J-Lane, who was just alongside but had to back out of it in the end. Looking to the inside as well, feinting through. Again, if you try and throw your opponent off kilter, it can make all the difference as Pathiman is into the pit lane. And, well, I'll be honest, mate, I don't think it's time for the slicks, but I admire your bravery nonetheless. Here he goes, medium tyres, 11 laps to go. It's not time yet. It is definitely not time yet. My girlfriend says kapow. More like with these two spaced at the front, you mean ka-chow. Timilele and Terziak don't need headlights because the racetrack is always lit. And if the cars was made by the youth now, it'd be the worst thing ever. J-Lane did get past Buck 57, by the way. Buck 20, meanwhile, is reeling in Milo. Gets a good exit out of the hairpin. And could it be some teammate trouncing time for Buck 20? The inter-team battle's going on. Milo pulls to the inside, although not using any battery whatsoever. Buck 20 has the pure pace in the wet conditions. It's a comfortable swap for the McLaren drivers. And Buck 20 gets on his merry way in P4. They could perhaps begin chasing down a certain Pure Tyrrell in P3. Feels like it's been a while since I've seen Buck 20 on the podium, so you know what? Do us a favour, lad. Go and do it. Do it for Yorkshire. 3/10 of a second almost out of the front. This is the closest Terziak's ever been, but a good exit out of the final corner means Timilele lives to fight another day. Still the track not ready for the slicks. It's an agonisingly long drying up period here at the US circuit. A snap of oversteer, respectively, for both competitors in P1 and 2. On board with a man in P2 in hot pursuit of the grand prize up ahead. Taking it nice and gingerly, these two. As there's Magico. He's about to be lapped by these two, and he gets well out of the way. He's having no part in that battle. Definitely not time for slicks. Pathyman's lost multiple seconds on this lap to Dirkleton. The racing on Inters goes on. Terziak's as close as he's ever been, using all of the battery and then some. Could be a potential passing move for the lead here if he's feeling bold and brave. Late on the brakes as he dares and sends Timolele slightly wide of the apex in his defence. But it's not enough to properly pounce on P1. But he's knocking on that door ferociously hard. Vulcan's about to make another move, though, on his Inters. Perhaps the sun's come out on the screen to Pathyman and co as well. That's my assumption, anyway. On my screen, it is grey skies. And Vulcan, just taking his time, doesn't have to do anything overzealous. Goes to the inside, and that will do it. All he needed was one traction zone. And that will do nicely. As Magico's gone off and spun, there's still so much excess water on the runoff areas and off the racing line. Still puddles. You can see a dry line just beginning to form now. But even so, it's just too little too late. But like I said, Magico perhaps playing the team game here. It's all a means to an end. There's a huge snap and slide for Terziak there. Wiggling his way through as he just enters the Maggots Beckett's mock-up complex. As Pathyman now gets passed by Jamie Tarquin, who will be feeling rather relieved to see Vulcan ahead of him now. I feel like he's had no one ahead of him this whole race, but now he's actually got some fighting to do. Which is great news for him. That's the tyre situ, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. The three at the back are on dries. I think that says it all. Don't go on the dries yet. Not until I say so, and I hope you're all listening in. Terziak not as close as he was on the previous lap. Not using any battery as well. So that will do it for that particular battle on lap number 19 of the US Grand Prix. Timolele, your leader. Terziak second. Tyrrell in third. And Buck 20 indeed has had the pace to reel in the grand prize up ahead. And look at the speed he has through the left-hander, trying to get the traction on. As they enter this clunky complex of corners, a potential move brewing up into the left-hander. Looks to the outside as Tyrrell does have the inside covered. Perhaps the time for a sensational switchback, maybe. Trying to plant on the power. So close, yet so far for the McLaren driver. Only a matter of time, surely, with the way he's all over the back of the Alpine man, before he makes that move. Ascends up into the top three and possibly never looks back. Terziak's as close as he's ever been. A potential move for the lead. Diving down the inside is the Flying Scotsman. Timolele uses the momentum around the outside. And Terziak has to go offline, and it just throws his grip off balance. And what was a moment of very, very outstanding opportunism has plummeted into pessimism briefly, but now has to reset and go again. The cracks in the armour of the Mercedes man are forming. All the Aston Martin man has to do is find the right time to strike. News down under, though, and Pathyman's not enjoyed his slick tyre time at all, whatsoever. He's down 28 seconds on his best lap so far. And I think that says it all, really, doesn't it? Terziak's really, really pressurising Timolele now. Got more battery to play with, more impetus. Buck 20, meanwhile, going for a move. A potential one round the outside. Would be nice to see it from an angle that wasn't from Stevie Wonder. But great news for Buck 20. The McLaren man moves up into the podium places here in COTA. Has had great pace in this in-between phase on the intermediates. And is planning on not looking back Terziak playing with fire in terms of track limits. He is going to go for the lead. He is going to try and pass Imola here on the track. All of the traction being used as much as it possibly can be. On board with Terziak for this one. Surely he's not going to go for a dive. Not a second bite of the cherry. Forces Tim into a defensive move. And a potential for a switch back there, but holds fire once again for now. I'm still watching the slick tyre men's progress to tell you if there's any chance of slick tyres actually becoming a factor, as Buck 57 is, well, J-Lane's making a call, and it's probably not a good one. If he's thinking about going on to slicks, I would advise against it. Because Stark's still losing about 4 seconds a lap to the cars ahead. So as much as I would respect you... Oh, he's gone on the softs. Well, maybe the different compound might make the difference. Jamie Tarquin's missed racing, people. He's on the back of Vulcan. And that'll be nice for him to get amongst it. He does have 1 million seconds of penalties. But, you know, each to their own. And in fact, he's decided, no, not today. I'm chickening out. It's time for some slickage. And so be it. More slickage it is. J-Lane out of the pit lane then. Riding on board with the V-carb man. As you can see, hardly any view of standing water, but still having to take it extremely gingerly. And don't tell me the sun's come out on your screen again, because it's not sunshine and rainbows where I am. The meteorologists are lying to you. They put cameras in the bald eagles. Three-quarters of this race is done and dusted. Now on to the final quarter to see who will come out on top between these two. Tim and Terziak have been fighting hammer and tong ever since they managed to ascend their way back up to the leading positions. Tyrrell had that front position but has fallen by the wayside. He's down in P4 now. Buck 20 loving life now in these interchangeable conditions in P3. Tim just beginning to stretch his legs. He's just found a bit more composure and confidence. Much easier. Well, much more difficult, should I say, to build it back up. Very, very easy for it to plummet in a heartbeat. That's how viciously the pendulum can swing all the time. Not only is it a game of pace, it's a game of psychology. Just got to hold your nerve. Not spend too much time looking behind you. And is that Magico? No, it's not Magico again. Oh my god, I was going to say. No, it's an Alpine of Pathiman who's about to be lapped. Oh, and DRS is enabled. I was about to say, J-Lane's not lost that much time on this lap. And now, DRS enabled. Well, that's sort of... That ruins my climax of proceedings, doesn't it? J-Lane knew something I didn't. As it turns out, it's getting very tasty. And he's going to begin catching up that time. He's already caught up about a second of it that he lost. All of that time that he lost before. And Jamie Tarquin as well, by the way, who made that bold call to get into the pit lane. Well. Perhaps it's not all done and dusted. The two leaders into the pit lane. Imola enters the box. It's going to be soft for these two. It's going to be an all-out sensational sprint slobberknocker to the end of this one. Here at the Circuit of the Americas, Imola emerges first. Obviously, no mistakes made by the pit crews. It's not a career mode. And out of the pits, surely to take P3 on the track will be Buck 20. Tyrrell will be in P4. Milo will strap on the soft boots. And it's a clean double stack from the McLaren men. Back out onto the track. And surely in P5. There you are then. J-Lane all the while catching up time hand over fist to the cars ahead. And despite it seeming like the wrong time, he might actually still emerge very near Buck 57. Oh, excuse me, not that near Buck 57. Or perhaps actually nearer than it probably would have been. Soft tyres then, it's dry running all the way through to the end of this race. And DRS, of course, is enabled. So if you are Mr. Terziak now, you can get that rear wing flap open, use a bit of the battery, and put even more pressure on. Imola just held on, should I say, in the wet conditions. Terziak, the pole sitter by quite some margin, now has to put that dry weather pace to the ultimate test. As Vulcan has exited the pit lane, Jamie Tarquin, after all is said and done, and despite the race he's had so far, he's in P9 on the road. Not bad. Not bad at all. Through the sweeping right-hander. Hug the inside as much as you dare. Try not to lose too much time. Then through the final two corners, a big slide for Terziak. A humongous slide for the Aston Martin driver. And no favours done there whatsoever. Lap number 24 and the gap up to a second and a half. Buck 20's catching up to these two. What the hell's going on? Bro is quick round this track. Imagine if it happened earlier on in this race. He could be winning. The gaps have all pretty much stagnated elsewhere in the field. So back to the forefront, which is where the majority of the battling probably will be, pending that Terziak gets back into DRS and provides us with some juicy, sweet DRS action. Almost gets within the DRS detection zone on this particular one, but how it has to get a good exit out of the hairpin first to try and get it on the next one. Tyrrell has a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's not ideal. And Terziak using quite a bit of battery in order to just use and keep in that slipstream. Use the pace of the Aston Martin in a straight line to try and mince the Mercedes further on in the lap. Now it's a battle of who can get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. This is your chance to do it, lads. Nice and wide sweeping corner from both the front too. It's almost academic and symmetrical from both of them. Imola and Terziak forming their own synchronised swimming team up at the front. Except the water's all gone, so they're disqualified. But well within DRS this time. There can be no denying that. Now we can really get things underway. Terziak with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. A 1:35.811. And now it can get very tasty. Those are your fastest laps. Buck 20 is actually the second fastest man on the track. That blew an impressive, that. Anyway, back to the interval gaps. Terziak within half a second of Imola up ahead. Looking for 2 in 2. We've seen quite a few 2 in 2s so far. I say a few. We saw Imola do it last week. We saw Thanasi do it on week 1. Maybe Terziak can do it this week. It's all about the double wins in the weeks of Blackout so far this season. And with the dose and deployment of DRS, this could be Terziak's best chance yet. On board with the Aston Martin driver. Tim's got no pace in a straight line to fight. It's as easy as you like. Terziak leads again at the US Grand Prix. Imola, though, will not give this up. Almost certainly without a fight. Could strike right now if he was feeling particularly brave, but decides not to go down the inside. It's 2 Banzai. It's not the last lap of the Grand Prix yet. Got to just play it patient. Now Terziak, the one with no pace during the double right-hander. What on earth happened there? But great pace through the penultimate corner, and away the Aston Martin goes again for a little bit more breathing room. The 2 T's up at the front, going for it. All the way to the very last, and a fastest lap of the Grand Prix for Terziak. Imola, though, with DRS, could think about a move into turn 1, but Terziak takes a slightly narrower approach just to ward that one off, as Tyrrell now lays the marker down for the fastest lap of the race. No pressure being applied there, no moves to make, and it's made the difference. Never mind, Milo's flying, a 1:34.751. Admittedly, partially coming down to the fact that the track is getting better and better. And now, the sun's come out. Sunny Texas. It's now a mathematical calculation between these two. Terziak has the lead, and actually, would rather hope he didn't have the lead on this particular occasion. He'd want to hope mathematically that he gets the lead. Well, stays in the lead on this lap if he can, although that'll be a very, very tall order. Imola with DRS and slipstream can't get through. Cannot get through on the Aston Martin driver, which is very interesting. Hardly had any straight line speed to fight with. So all of the firepower coming in the form of Terziak's Aston Martin car. Imola, monstrous in the corners, a mouse on the straights. Through the final 2 corners, a big mistake for Terziak there, and wide again at the final corner. As Buck 20 now gets a 3-second time penalty, naughty boy. But onto the next lap we go. Looking to the inside as Imola switches to the outside, as Terziak has to take the narrower line to defend his position. But in the end, no switchback opens itself up. Tim's going to try and use a bit of momentum, though, into the S section. Again, squandered by the defensive display from Terziak. That's all he needs to do at this current stage. Imola with a full complement of battery to play with. Terziak with it all to do as they enter the back straight, the DRS straight, on lap number 27. Let's see what they all play with. What is at Imola's disposal, really? Well, in the slipstream this time, and at that close, well, he's actually saving it. He's actually really held back. He's waiting for that last lap to come through, where he can pounce and make the moves where it matters most. Perhaps some DRS chicken to be played between these two, which would be rather interesting and enticing. That would certainly throw the cat amongst the pigeons. This is the only fight, really, to watch. Buck 20's in a world of his own. Tyrrell's in a world of his own. Actually catching Buck 20 quite considerably, but he's in a world of his own nonetheless. Millo's in a world of his own. Buck 57's in 6th. J-Lane's in 7th. Dirkleton's in a world of his own in 8th. Same for Jamie Tarquin in 9th, etc, etc, etc. Last lap of the US Grand Prix, then. And here we go. Imola on board with the Mercedes man. Remains behind Terziak, just holding back and waiting for that DRS straight. And you can almost feel the build-up, the atmosphere of inevitability creeping in and encapsulating Terziak right now. Sending him into claustrophobia, because it's literally seconds to go before that DRS straight comes along. Unless he fakes a mistake out the left-hander, which I will admit would be mightily impressive him to do. He didn't do that. Oh, DRS chicken! Yay! I knew it would I knew it would happen, and it certainly has unfolded. But Imola has DRS, and a slide out of the hairpin for Terziak. It's gonna be hammer and tong all the way to the end. Terziak defends as much as he damn well dares, but through blazes the Mercedes man of Imola. Through he goes into P1, but takes the narrower line. Terziak will have the better line, but it won't be enough. The gap's just opened up too much. There could still be a fairy tale to forge at the end of this. Looking to the inside is the Aston Martin driver, but that could have been the last opportunity. The nail in the coffin in his victory hopes. Tactical Imola bided his time to absolute perfection, and with just 2 corners to go, what a show these two have put on at the front of the field. But there can only be one winner, and in America, Imola ascends to the top. What a drive from the Mercedes man. By extension, what a drive by the Aston Martin car behind. Fantastic from the pair of them, all the way to the very last. Buck 20 gets a podium in Blackout at the US Grand Prix this season. Might well have already got one, but it's been a while, so well done you. Tyrrell in P4 with fastest lap as well, I believe, unless Stark steals it at the death. Millo in 5th. Buck 57 will be next across the line in P6. Well done to him. And then, we have a bit of a wait. Mr. J-Lane next. Through the final corner he goes. And he crosses the line to take P7. The 3-second time penalty will not affect his finishing position. Dirkleton will finish 8th. Jamie Tarquin, even after a fraught start to proceedings, will round the final corner and will claim, despite everything, P9 on the road. Nicely done, Squire. Vulcan round the final 2 corners next. In many respects, just didn't work out for him. In fact, for a lot of drivers. But P10 nonetheless. I was only 2.5 seconds off Jamie Tarquin. Stark through the final corner. He's 8 tenths up on his current lap. Will it be fastest lap? Yeah, no, I don't think it was. It was close, but not close enough. Well, that's kind of sad. Magic already finished, and then there was one car behind, I believe, a Pathyman, who completed proceedings. There you go. A great US Grand Prix. Perhaps not the most exciting all the way through the field, especially towards the end. But the front fight was a fiery and ferocious one to the death. But in the end, there was only one that could come out on top. Only one master of the Circuit of the Americas. And to claim his crown and his throne at the top of the podium, ladies and gentlemen, when it decides to load, Imola takes top honours. It was Terziak in race 1 in Formula 2. They graduated to Formula 1. It was still the same 2 suspects in the top 2 spots, but it was roles reversed. Imola, the Mercedes man, takes the win and sprays James Allison with lemonade. That's my guess anyway. Buck 20 joins them on the podium. A great race from all 3 of them. A great race all the way around. Some strategies definitely work better than others. I think that's the best way of putting it, honestly. Pathyman said, oh boy, my strategy sucked. And it did. It did really suck. And I do feel sorry for you. I had all the intel. I would have told you. I would have told you if it was the right time to put the dry tyres on. But there you go. Can't always listen to me. Sometimes to be bold means to have all the benefits. But unfortunately, there were none in this particular instance. And that will do it. Blackout Season 17, week number 4. Here at Imola and Kota is done and dusted. And what a week it's been again. Blackout does not miss. I'm telling you. Blackout never misses. What a stunning spectacle. Honestly. Well done to all of the drivers. Some strategies work better than most in, well, some strategies work better than others, should I say, at the US Grand Prix, but weathering the storm was certainly the way to go. In both occasions, actually, weathering the storm was indeed the way forward. In race 1, holding it out on the slick tyres was the way to go, and then it was the roles reversed, the intermediates. Extend the life of those. They are screaming for resuscitation, but you had to just brave it a little bit more. And there were great fights all the way through, but Imola and Terziak turned up the wick. And even with a bit of DRS chicken at the end, just for good measure. So fair play to them. In race 1 in Formula 2, Imola and Terziak were the top 2 again. But this time it was Terziak taking the top spot. And it was a dominant display from him. Even with the time penalties, he still managed to have a sizable gap at the end and ascertain why he cannot be counted out of this championship conquest. Because there is still plenty to come from this season. It's only week 4, ladies and gentlemen. The F2 racing, by the way, was fantastic. And, well, unfortunately for some, the government lied to them. They turned on the virtual sun, and it was wrong. As J-Lane found out to his detriment, as he had the understeer of an alligator. And he paid the price, ultimately. But there you are. Where do we head next? Answer is, it's Mexico, the sprint race. After we have some actual F1 to talk about again at Kota. That'll be fun, won't it? We can have a little debrief. It'll be really fun. And then it's the Netherlands. Dirkleton's home race. That'll be fun for him to go to. Tyrrell has the Dutch flag next to his gamer tag as well. So I believe that's his home race as well. Don't quote me on that. But if it is, then it's both their home race, which will be lovely. And the Netherlands always seems to throw up like the heavyweight clash every single time. And always just a little sprinkling of controversy on top, on the cherry on the cake. So, like I say, Blackout does not disappoint. We then have Miami and Brazil on the 28th of October. The 4th of November is actually a break week. It is a break week for Blackout. There might be some other fun things going on. Who knows what we're doing on the off week? I don't even know what we're doing on the off week currently, but I'd love to do something. stream it, have some fun. You never know. By the way, we'll have a nice little break from racing, and then it'll be Baku 100%. Just to really thrust them back into the deep end. Everyone's favourite. We love a 100% race. I love a 100% race anyway. Because I won in Britain. Oh, sorry. I will give it a rest, honestly. I've had to do it a lot less this season because I milked that basically agenda to death last season and I can't use it anymore. So there you are. But the point is, you should definitely tune in for next week, because if it is anything like this week, or in fact even the weeks before, which I can guarantee you it will be, then we're in for an absolute treat. And I mean that with every single ounce of my heart. You will not be disappointed. But ladies and gentlemen, the sun sets on another week of Blackout racing. But there was fire and brimstone that accompanied the racing out on the track today. In F2, many battles going through. Some fairy tale qualifyings, fairy tale racing for that matter. Terziak took top honours in Imola in F2. They all graduated to F1 very quickly after a race like that. I'd say they deserved it too. And then along came the clash of the titans, Terziak and Tim, with some DRS chicken at the end to boot. But in the end, Timalele says he's not one to be squawked at. And when the cock crowed, Tim was on top. And I say to them, just keep it off the track, lads. But, you know, at this point, anything almost goes in Blackout. I don't even know anymore. But the point is, Tim did a great race. Terziak did a great race. And Buck 20. Welcome back to the podium, sir. It's great to have you there. I'm not going to do any more kid-friendly gambling, because that's probably not a good thing to do. So, I will leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you ever so much for watching another wonderful week of the Blackout Bonanza. It's been an absolute wild ride. It always is, but particularly this week and last week. Bloody hell. Last week nearly took the wind out of my sails completely. Like, I was exasperated. Completely exhausted. And, well, for good reason. It was a phenomenal week. But at the same time, like, I was ill as well, actually, so that didn't really help. But, you know, you can only help yourself so much. Because at the end of the day, you see great racing, and you have to applaud it. And it was absolutely unbelievable. All of those races, by the way, if you haven't seen them, they're on a YouTube channel called KarlsCars. Subscribe, I'm watching you. But they are all there under a playlist called Commentary. I'm actually planning on uploading there again, consistently, again, very soon. I've missed doing it. There's no excuse for me not to be doing it, so I'm going to do it. So there you are. That's my statement out onto the world. I have to upload these first, which I've procrastinated doing for weeks. But not anymore. I will upload them, and then we shall all be well. If you did enjoy it, please also consider giving me a follow. All of these lovely graphics were made by my darling husband, Mr. Magico, who had a very good run at things in the F2 race. I'm very proud of him, and he's learning all the time in the F1 as well. Granted, the strategy wasn't great in Kota, and that's what I put it down to, because loads of people were in the same boat. But Mr. Magico made this, he also made this, and he also made the end stream graphic that you'll see soon. Not only that, he also made the calendar, he also made the teams and drivers graphic. He basically, Magico created the earth, basically. So give him a follow, RD Magico. He also has a YouTube, Magico834, I think it is. I can't remember what numbers it is. I missed it last week as well. I forgot last week, should I say. But I'm assuming it's that. Just go and find him. Go and subscribe. It's 438. No, it's 438. 438. Magico438. Subscribe to him. Go now. Thank you. There are also older Blackout episodes over on J-Lane's channel, Jland3. Go and subscribe to him. Watch some of the Season 15 shenanigans. It was great fun. I was driving. I had a wonderful time. But, as always, there's one thing I have to say, and it's a big thank you to Blackout. I never find the words to be able to express my gratitude, and there will never be enough words to express my gratitude. But they are the reason I'm doing this. I'm doing all my other commentary, expeditions, etc., etc. You get the idea. The point is, I owe these guys more than you can ever imagine. I love them with all my heart. So, Blackout, you remain undefeated. No one is better. And as always, tune in next week because the Blackout boys get to work again next week over in Mexico and the Netherlands with a sprint race to boot for the first one of the day. But thank you ever so much for watching, whether it's now or whether it's on a YouTube very, very soon. I love you all to absolute pieces. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And goodbye.